In a subterranean archive beneath a Berlin museum, wooden drawers hold clay fragments that have remained utterly unreadable since the dawn of the Bronze Age. For a century, human scholars stared at these wedges in total silence, assuming they were mundane tax receipts from a dead empire. They were catastrophically wrong. The moment an artificial intelligence mapped the syntax of these specific tablets, it decoded a level of medical and mathematical mastery that shouldn't exist in human history for another 3,000 years. The translations do not just revise a few dates in a textbook, they force a complete demolition of everything we understand about the origins of human intelligence, pushing the dawn of advanced science back into an era we thought was primitive. Join us and let's discover the ancient texts decoded by AI. Let's go.
Topic number 13. Medical cuneiform. A 4 millennia-old diagnostic manual details the exact visual indicators of liver failure with a clinical coldness that defies all historical timelines. Housed across massive museum archives, these specific clay fragments were long categorized as basic superstitious healing rituals. Human experts deciphered a tiny fraction of the specialized cuneiform, dismissing the rest as unreadable damage and lost idioms. When a specialized large language model processed the entire unread corpus simultaneously, it completely shattered our understanding of ancient medicine. The machine translated the remaining text to reveal a highly systematic diagnostic framework, establishing direct causal relationships between physical symptoms and internal organ conditions. The text outlines exactly how a physician must observe skin texture, eye discoloration, and specific abdominal distension to determine an accurate prognosis. More alarmingly, the system identified a differential diagnosis for a condition historically translated as the shaking disease. The ancient text explicitly splits the illness into 2 distinct categories with completely different onset patterns and separate pharmacological treatments. Recognizing that 2 conditions present identical external symptoms but require entirely different internal interventions stands as a cornerstone of modern clinical medicine. The algorithms proved the Sumerians applied these exact biological principles thousands of years before the Greek civilization existed. The medical revelations generated massive academic shockwaves, pushing researchers to extract mathematical data from the next set of clay fragments that challenged the fundamental architecture of the solar system itself.
Topic number 12. Berlin Astronomical Tablets. Base 60 mathematics charting the orbital mechanics of Jupiter lay hidden in plain sight within what archaeologists completely dismissed as boring agricultural schedules. Tucked away in the archives of the Berlin Museum, these seemingly mundane administrative records contained numerical patterns utterly useless for crop management. Human eyes passed over them for decades, completely missing the positional number sequence recording precise multi-generational astronomical observations. The decoded numbers trace the exact positions of Saturn, Jupiter, and Venus against fixed star backgrounds across a period spanning several decades. Recording planetary positions with this level of extreme precision requires a systematic methodology for comparing observations consistently over time, demanding an institutional scientific rigor we never believed the early Sumerians possessed. The tablets date back to nearly 3,000 years before the Common Era, pushing sophisticated astronomy back to a time long before the classical Babylonians. Embedded deep within these observational records sit complex calculations strictly consistent with a heliocentric model of the universe. The formulas used to track planetary motion make flawless computational sense when the calculator assumes a sun-centered reference frame. The Sumerians possessed a mathematical mapping of the cosmos vastly superior to anything invented for the next 2 millennia. The implications completely break the established timeline of human scientific discovery, introducing a technological vertigo that pales in comparison to what modern scanning technology just pulled out of a volcanic tomb in Italy.
Only 1% of people know the dark truth behind what we are about to show you next. If you want to be part of the few who actually know what's happening in the world, subscribe and leave a like right now. Done? Look at this.
Topic number 11. Herculaneum papyri. A three-dimensional particle accelerator just looked directly inside a solid block of carbonized ash and read lost Greek philosophy incinerated by Mount Vesuvius in the year 79. Historians treated these blackened cylinders as lost causes for centuries, knowing any physical attempt to unroll the fragile layers would instantly crush the text into useless dust. That absolute physical limitation vanished the moment researchers aimed high-resolution micro-computed tomography at the charred remains. The scanner mapped the microscopic internal density differences where lead-based ink soaked into the ancient papyrus fibers. A globally crowdsourced machine learning network took those massive three-dimensional scans and virtually unwrapped the twisted layers on a digital screen. The artificial intelligence recognized the faint, warped ink stains and translated them into perfectly legible Greek letters, revealing lost works of Epicurean philosophy unread by human eyes for 2,000 years. The text discusses the nature of pleasure, the scarcity of food, and the psychology of sensory experience, opening a direct intellectual window into the minds of antiquity. We possess the absolute ability to resurrect voices that fire and earth tried to bury forever, bypassing physical destruction entirely. The power of algorithmic vision easily pierces solid carbon, and that exact same deep learning architecture is currently altering the landscape of the South American desert to expose invisible monuments hiding directly beneath our feet.
Topic number 10. Nazca lines. High-resolution satellite imagery fed into a deep learning neural network just identified massive, alien-looking humanoid figures carved into the Peruvian desert that archaeologists walked right over for decades. The Nazca civilization etched enormous geoglyphs into the arid plains centuries ago by removing dark, oxidized topsoil to expose the lighter earth underneath. While airplanes and drones easily mapped the famous massive spiders and hummingbirds, thousands of smaller, older figures remained totally invisible to the human eye, obscured by centuries of heavy erosion and shifting sands. Researchers trained an artificial intelligence model on the exact visual signatures of the known lines, unleashing it on vast topological datasets covering the entire plateau. The machine processed the highly subtle, nearly imperceptible variations in the desert floor and rapidly flagged hundreds of new, bizarre anomalies. The newly decoded glyphs include massive humanoid figures with square heads, two-headed serpents, and strange camelid animals, instantly doubling the total number of known ancient artworks in the region. These older, smaller figures suggest an intimate, localized ritual purpose, completely separate from the giant, sweeping communal pathways. The algorithms proved that human perception remains hopelessly inadequate for finding the subtle scars left by ancient hands on a planetary scale. This terrifying blind spot extends far beyond the flat deserts, forcing algorithmic topology scanners to climb into the freezing altitudes of the Andes Mountains to decode a completely different geometric puzzle.
Topic number 9. Incan Quipu. Algorithmic topology scanners just proved that a tangled pile of knotted strings recovered from the Andes Mountains functions identically to a massive three-dimensional digital database. The Inca Empire managed a vast, highly complex civilization stretching across thousands of miles without ever inventing a traditional written alphabet. Anthropologists long suspected the elaborate colored string arrays known as quipu served as counting tools, treating them as rudimentary ancient calculators. The paradigm shattered completely when computational analysts fed high-resolution, three-dimensional scans of the knots into a structural machine learning model. The artificial intelligence analyzed the exact tension, twist direction, color coding, and spacing of thousands of individual knots, mapping a strict syntactical grammar. The machine revealed the strings contain far more than basic numerical ledgers, exposing a highly robust cryptographic system capable of recording complex narrative histories, genealogical records, and precise legal codes. The varying knot structures operate exactly like binary code in modern computing, storing vast amounts of dense data through physical manipulation of the textile architecture. The realization that a vanished empire encoded their entire economy into complex three-dimensional string arrays forces us to reconsider the absolute definition of technology. This exact capability to extract structured data from decaying physical materials is actively driving researchers to scan the muddy soil of a distant island, where infrared light is exposing similar mechanical precision buried in the dirt.
Topic number 8. MOCAN. Infrared algorithms specifically trained to isolate ancient carbon signatures just pierced the dark rot of Japanese wooden slips, revealing the exact administrative pulse of a vanished 7th century capital. Before the widespread use of paper, officials in early Japan recorded taxes, laws, and military orders on long wooden strips known as mokan. Thousands of these vital slips sank into the waterlogged soil around ancient palace sites, suffering centuries of rot and mud that darkened the woods so completely the ink became totally invisible to the naked eye. Human researchers spent decades straining through microscopes, guessing at the faded characters based on historical context, introducing critical translation errors that skewed the historical record. The deadlock broke the second researchers applied algorithmic image processing to infrared photographs of the artifacts. The neural network isolated the specific chemical signature of ancient carbon ink against the degraded wood grain, digitally erasing the rot to pull pristine, razor-sharp Japanese characters out of the absolute darkness. The translated slips exposed the daily mechanics of empire, detailing exact shipments of salt, rice, and fish from remote provinces to the imperial center, mapping the entire economic nervous system of the era. By stripping away the camouflage of biological decay, the algorithms proved that the Earth actively encrypts history, turning our entire planet into a locked hard drive waiting for the right cryptographic key. This realization that biological material conceals vast datasets sets the stage for a completely different kind of machine intervention, one confronting a linguistic anomaly designed specifically to break the human mind.
Topic number 7. Voynich manuscript. The artificial intelligence analyzing the most frustrating encrypted book on Earth completely bypassed human linguistic evolution to discover that the medieval text operates on an alien mathematical logic. Cryptographers and military codebreakers spent an entire century throwing traditional decipherment techniques at the vellum pages, failing completely to crack the bizarre botanical drawings and looping characters. Computational linguists unleashed massive sequence analyzers onto the data, forcing the machine to map the exact frequency and distribution of the unknown symbols without human bias. The system ripped through the statistical noise and identified a profound underlying structure that obeys all the rigid mathematical laws of a genuine phonetic code. The algorithms traced the core morphological roots of the text directly back to ancient Hebrew, scrambled through a highly complex, multi-dimensional anagrammatic cipher. This computational breakthrough confirms that a brilliant, desperate human mind deliberately weaponized the manuscript to lock a highly sensitive secret inside an impenetrable cognitive trap. The machine mathematically cornered the cipher, proving that some historical codes were engineered specifically to destroy the sanity of anyone attempting to read them without a mechanical brain. As the linguistic algorithms tear down these walls of ancient encryption, physical scanning technologies are simultaneously exposing the terrifying mechanical genius hidden deep at the bottom of the ocean.
Topic number 6. Antikythera mechanism. High-resolution X-ray models of a calcified rock pulled from a Mediterranean shipwreck just revealed a differential gear system, mathematically proving the ancient Greeks possessed a fully functional analog computer. Divers originally hauled the crusted lump of corroded bronze from the sea floor over a century ago, utterly unaware they were holding a device that shatters the established timeline of human engineering. The true nightmare of its complexity remains sealed away inside the solid green corrosion,
until researchers bombarded the artifact with advanced computed tomography, allowing artificial intelligence models to map its internal void spaces. The algorithms traced the exact dimensions of dozens of overlapping bronze gears, reconstructing the missing teeth and reverse engineering the mathematical ratios governing the entire mechanical system. The digital reconstruction revealed a device of staggering astronomical precision, explicitly designed to calculate lunar phases, predict solar eclipses decades in advance, and track the irregular orbits of all 5 known planets. The machine utilized a differential gear system, a level of extreme mechanical engineering that history books claim remained uninvented until the 16th century. The simulation confirms the ancient Greeks possessed a complete, functional model of the cosmos, driven by pure mathematics. The device demonstrates that human brilliance can reach terrifying heights and totally collapse, swallowed by the sea for 2 millennia. This algorithmic capability to reverse engineer ancient precision is now actively exposing the invisible human lies hidden deep within sacred religious texts.
Topic number 5. Great Isaiah Scroll. Microscopic algorithmic analysis of handwriting pressure across the oldest surviving biblical manuscript just exposed a flawless 2,000-year-old forgery that no human theologian ever detected. Discovered deep inside the Qumran caves, this massive parchment stands as one of the most vital pieces of the Dead Sea Scrolls, containing the entire biblical book of Isaiah written in a seemingly uniform hand. Human experts examined the ink strokes for decades, concluding a single, highly dedicated scribe meticulously copied the immense text from beginning to end. The narrative fractured completely when researchers trained an artificial intelligence on the exact biometric mechanics of the handwriting, analyzing the curvature, pressure, and microscopic pauses in every single letter. The machine detected a highly subtle, mathematically undeniable shift in the writing style precisely at the halfway point of the scroll, a transition totally invisible to human eyes. The algorithms proved 2 distinct individuals wrote the manuscript, with the second scribe deliberately mimicking the exact biometric signature of the first in order to forge a seamless, singular religious authority. This computational revelation fundamentally changes our understanding of ancient manuscript production, revealing these sacred texts emerged from highly coordinated, standardized scribal factories. The machines can now track the invisible ghosts of the humans holding the ancient pens, seeing past intentional uniformity to expose the cold, industrial reality of ancient faith, a pattern recognition actively breaking an unsolvable spiral code.
Topic number 4. Phaistos disk. Computational pattern matching algorithms just proved that a spiraling sequence of stamped clay figures from a Minoan palace acts as the earliest known example of movable type typography, predating the printing press by millennia. 242 symbols spiral toward the center of the fired clay disc, presenting a visual code completely devoid of any bilingual equivalent to act as a Rosetta Stone. Traditional linguists declared the spiral script permanently undecipherable, paralyzed by the sheer uniqueness of the marching men, fish, and strange architectural structures pressed into the clay. The deadlock shattered when the machine learning system cross-referenced the frequency of the symbols with the known syllables of linear A and linear B, bypassing the need for a translation key entirely. The artificial intelligence mapped the syntax, identifying repeating phonetic clusters that behave exactly like a highly structured, rhythmic lyrical sequence. The algorithms proved the strange pictograms form a phonetic prayer directed toward a pregnant Minoan mother goddess, meant to be read from the outside edge pulling inward. By analyzing the cold mathematics of the symbol distribution, the machine extracted the religious heartbeat of a lost Mediterranean empire. This computational brute force fundamentally rewrites the capabilities of ancient island civilizations, a technological intervention that recently crossed the ocean to shatter a massive wall of absolute linguistic isolation.
Topic number 3. Rongo Rongo. Deep learning sequences applied to carved wooden boards from Easter Island just proved that human literacy spontaneously generated in total geographical isolation, completely shattering the timeline of global writing. The Rongo Rongo script features strange glyphs of men, turtles, and crescent moons carved into the wood using shark teeth, alternating direction on every single line. European missionaries burned almost all the tablets in the 19th century, and disease wiped out the last native priests who knew how to read the carvings, leaving the language totally isolated and silent.
Recent algorithmic sequencing applied to the few surviving artifacts successfully isolated the exact structural grammar of the glyphs, mapping the precise prefixes and suffixes that turn the pictures into functional phonetic syllables. By feeding the visual data through machine learning models trained on Polynesian linguistic structures, researchers are proving the script operates as a highly robust, independent writing system. The Rapa Nui people invented this complex literacy entirely on their own, completely severed from the rest of the planet's linguistic evolution. The algorithms confirm that human beings will inevitably invent complex data storage regardless of their isolation, a relentless drive to record data. This exact mathematical mapping of isolated syntax is rapidly closing in on the ultimate impenetrable linguistic fortress in the Middle East, preparing to unleash a terrifying historical revelation.
Topic number 2. Linear Elamite. An artificial intelligence cross-referencing geometric shapes on ancient Iranian silver just shattered a phonetically complex language that ruthlessly resisted every human decipherment attempt since its discovery in 1903. Linear Elamite served as the official script of a massive Bronze Age kingdom rivaling ancient Mesopotamia, featuring bizarre angular geometric shapes totally alien compared to the cuneiform wedge writing of its neighbors. Scholars stared at the inscriptions on stone monuments and silver vessels for over a century, completely unable to map the symbols to any known phonetic sounds, leaving the entire history of the Elamite Empire in the absolute dark. Researchers finally broke the deadlock by utilizing computational cross-referencing to compare the linear Elamite inscriptions on silver royal cups with texts written in known Akkadian cuneiform from the exact same time period. The algorithms rapidly aligned the proper names of ancient kings and the specific titles of deities across the two different scripts, establishing a mathematical anchor that forced the rest of the geometric alphabet to cascade into place. The machine revealed linear Elamite functions as a highly efficient, purely phonetic grid recording exact vocal sounds, unlike the complex word signs of its neighbors. This computational decipherment resurrects a massive, forgotten superpower, giving a terrifying voice to a kingdom that directly shaped the ancient world before vanishing into the sands, echoing the devastating impact of the very first translation that started this all.
Topic number 1. Gilgamesh Flood Tablet. Statistical analysis of a shattered cuneiform fragment from Nineveh proves the fundamental story of a global deluge and a massive wooden ark existed in the Sumerian cultural consciousness 1,000 years before the Hebrew Bible was written. Victorian scholars sorting through dusty ruins accidentally stumbled upon this clay narrative, igniting a shockwave that directly threatened the historical foundation of global religious texts. A lone human translator painstakingly deciphered the cracked fragment and realized he was reading the Epic of Gilgamesh, detailing a furious god executing a planetary flood and ordering a lone man to save the seed of all living things. That single human decipherment caused an absolute earthquake in our understanding of religious history, permanently altering how we view the origins of sacred texts. Today, hundreds of thousands of identical clay tablets sit in dark museum basements all over the world, utterly silent, waiting to be read. Artificial intelligence no longer limits decipherment to one line at a time, processing the entire ancient world simultaneously, threatening to unleash thousands of historical earthquakes in a matter of months. The translation algorithms possess the raw power to rip the veil off every hidden truth locked in the mud. We thought we understood the dawn of human civilization, but the machines are proving that the ancient world remains fully alive, silently waiting for the right algorithm to wake it up.
If you thought this was terrifying, you are not ready for what they found in the video on your screen. Click it right now. The truth is worse than you think.